Today on CityCast Denver, Election Day is 3 weeks away, and your ballot is in your mailbox right now, if it's not already on your kitchen counter. So how will you decide between the 16 remaining mayoral candidates? Tattered Cover CEO Kwame Spearman dropped out on Thursday, but 16 is still a lot to choose from. For a lot of people, it's going to come down to who looks best on TV. We've got a healthy crop of TV ads on the air already, so we got a great guest to watch them all with us and dig into all the other stories that mattered this week, like bugs and bugs of the sea. Today is Friday, March 17th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the state where any old town can hold a festival for a frozen dead guy.
Oh, yeah, it moved, huh?
Yep, that's right.
It's in Leadville now?
It's in Estes Park.
Oh, my bad. It was in Leadville.
It was in Nederland.
Just forget I said Leadville at all. Sorry, Leadville.
Well, Bree, that was going to be my question. Do you care that Frozen Dead Guy Days is in Estes now?
Clearly, I don't. But as you know, longtime listeners of the show know, me and on maternity leave newsletter editor Peyton Garcia are freaks for Estes Park. It's our favorite place to go, but I wouldn't say that's going to be a draw for me.
No, me neither. I think it's weird that it's not where the Frozen Dead Guy is anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
That's just a Colorado thing that's not in my interest. But hey, it's still going. People are probably excited about that.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Before we introduce our guest this Friday, I have a piece of business. Didn't tell you about this before, Bree. This is a surprise. Do you remember earlier this week we were talking about rules for surviving Denver, and a listener said, don't use north in front of street names?
Yeah, Juliana, I
south.
think, because I was like, yes, I don't like it when people do that.
Well,
what?
A source close to the city's planning department, I haven't confirmed this, we got a DM from somebody.
Okay, I was like, I have sources in there too, so I will double check your source.
I hope you do. I sent them an email. They just haven't gotten back to me yet. But this person says, Denver's addressing department now requires the north, south, or east-west designation on all streets.
Why?
Because folks were calling emergencies into 1234 Federal Boulevard when they meant 1234 South Federal, and it was confusing. So
that's fair. I mean, my sister works on an ambulance. I bet she appreciates it that she can go to the correct address.
It seems better. It's not ambiguous.
I'll ask her. I'll be like, Zoe, do you care about this north-south thing? And she'll be like, no.
Well,
you're old and weird. I don't care.
Let us know what she does say.
I will.
Okay. So we have a great guest today. She's a reporter and one of the voices behind the great Axios Denver newsletter. Elena Alvarez is here. Welcome, Elena.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Elena, have you ever been to Frozen Dead Guy Days?
I haven't. No, I've been to Nederland, and which, by the way, is it Nederland? I feel like that's a debate. Nederland. Okay, we'll go with that. I've seen where he, lives.
You have?
Well, I've seen the outside of the shed, but I've never been to the actual Days Fest. I think the costumes though are like a draw enough in itself. I love all of the crazy like zombie-esque costumes that people wear.
What is this? Do you know the costumes?
Yeah, people dress like ice queens and like dead ice people. I don't know. It's pretty fun.
Huh. Well,
very visual.
I've also never been.
That's been going on a long time, right? Oh God,
20 years maybe?
Yeah, I know the man died in 1989.
It's crazy that's not some like historic thing. It's like pretty recent.
Oh, really? I thought
that
it was like
happened.
1800s weird stuff.
I assume that too. I'm just,
No, I read a CPR story. They did a big backstory of this festival, and I learned a bunch. I mean, this guy was like from Norway. He's not, it's just interesting. Like, how did he get here? I don't know. The whole story is very, very bizarre.
It is. But we've got such a great topic. Today. I've been excited about this.
It's not Frozen Dead Guy.
All week, yes. No, we're not talking about Frozen Dead Guy Days, though that is this weekend in Estes Park. We're going to talk about the mayor's race, but we got a different kind of way to look at it. Ballots are mailed out this week, so it's really getting serious. But most people probably aren't paying that much attention. I mean, these voter turnout's not super big in these municipal elections, so most people are going to get their info from TV, our old friend TV. So that's what we're doing today.
Commercials, I would say, because YouTube, right, is the other place.
That's true. The same commercials have been appearing on YouTube.
And I'm trying to think where else I've seen them.
Sometimes I get pop-ups.
Yeah.
They'll just be in a pop-up.
Totally, or maybe an Instagram ad. But I just wanted to make that distinction because I know many of us have cut the cord and do not watch TV, but I'm a regular YouTuber, so.
Elena, before we dig into these ads, do you want to give us just like a top-line state of the race? I know you all have been covering the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we all know, it's extremely crowded. We got 17 people running, which means well, it doesn't necessarily mean that no one's standing out, but that's certainly the case. No one is pulling above 10%. Really, no one's pulling outside the margin of error. So it's really anyone's race. I think there's definitely a colorful array of commercials we have out here, which I'm excited to get into with you guys. And I think, right now they're using these ads to stand out because they have to. That's the only way that they're really able to differentiate themselves. And I think they certainly have by the tone and, just feel of these commercials. They're quite different from each other.
They really are. You got to make a statement. You got to say something big.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really has.
I disagree, but we'll get there.
I feel a little jaded maybe because we've done so much research and reading and interviews on folks that I'm not the target audience for the commercial. So the commercial's like not hitting me because they have to be surface. They have to be grabby and big to get those folks, to get most folks, because it's going to be hard, like you're saying, Elena, to differentiate between 17 different people. I mean, we talk about this daily, and sometimes Paul and I are like counting on our fingers, like, okay, wait, who did we miss?
How?
Yeah, did we talk to them yet? So, yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear from our listeners if you care about commercials, if they are the thing that helps you decide your vote. I'm very curious.
Let's get into it. So I organized these in reverse order of overall fundraising. So the people whose campaigns had the most money, we're going to talk about them last.
Oh, okay.
And not everyone has a commercial. There's only like 7 or 8.
Right. They're really expensive to produce and run.
Really?
Yeah, I heard from a few candidates. I mean, they're spending well above 6 figures to get the message out to voters.
That is wild to me because none of these are that amazing. Like, I'm not trying to be this guy again, but when I was on the Kaylin campaign, we had a blast making our commercials, but it was 100% DIY to the point where like, our friend Rosie, who also Kaylin uses a wheelchair. Rosie uses a wheelchair. Rosie was like the camera dolly. So we would have her hold the camera while Kaylin was rolling forward, and then we would roll Rosie back to to shoot it. And we got all our friends involved. And but I see what you're saying, Elena, because like the TV time is expensive.
Yeah.
And if you're not going fully DIY, production is expensive.
Yeah.
So, but I would say you still have time left. There's some of you that I'm really excited for that are running that I'm not seeing a commercial for. Go DIY. Go make one on your phone. Please.
I want everyone to have one.
I do too.
Everyone.
That's
I want to see them.
That's the heartbreaking part about this conversation we're about to have. But let's get to the commercials.
Okay. First up, Chris Hansen. His overall fundraising is $443,000 or $443,011. He's a state senator. I don't know. We've been talking about it. We know. Let's get to it.
How did it come to this? This is not the Denver I want for our kids. And City Hall's response isn't working. It's time for a new direction. As an engineer, I've solved complex problems in the private and public sectors. As mayor, I'll audit homeless programs and enforce the camping ban across the city. And I'll invest in highly trained, accountable police. I'm Chris Hansen. I have plans to solve these problems, not hide from them.
Okay, Chris Hansen and the Band-Aid on the Nest Cam.
Ugh.
This ad has been controversial. Probably the biggest talker in the bunch. What do we think?
I want you guys to go because I'm just going to say something really rude.
All right. So, Elena, the issue that some other candidates brought up was that this was racially insensitive by the fact that there was some footage that featured mostly people of color committing crimes.
That's right.
Could you want to contextually say more about that?
Yeah, that's right. And it continues to come up in this race. Just 2 days ago, 9 News held a debate and it came up once again. And Chris Hansen continues to stick to his guns. He's defending this ad. I mean, he really talks about the backlash being overwrought. I think that's a direct quote of his. I think a lot of candidates, there's always a huge risk by being the first one to to get out there, and he was with this ad.
This was the first ad.
Yeah, so I think you know,
no,
a lot
he
of
did that one where he turns into
You're right.
the Terminator.
Yes.
Sorry.
Is that the first one?
Yes.
I think it was
Iron Man.
Yep.
His Iron
Sorry.
Man ad
but
was first.
He was out there first,
Right,
and then
okay.
so this is his second one, which also says something about his budget.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Yeah. And so I just, the other candidates definitely had an opportunity to sit, watch, wait, look what happens, and then jump on that moment. And they certainly have and continue to. 9 News highlighted that 7 people in his video are people of color, and they're all committing crimes. And, you know, he basically...
Not good.
Again, is sticking to his guns and saying that footage is real. It wasn't, you know, he didn't make it up. But of course, you have to think about, you know, selection and what you're holistically saying. And I just think it's interesting that he's really defending himself and sticking his heels into the ground still.
This was what he told me a few weeks ago when I asked him about the ad. He was like, it's the footage. It's not my footage. It's from 9 News. It's like, you picked it, man. You put it in the ad. You said yes.
Oh my God, has he never done anything before where you select what you show the world? Him saying that the controversy over it is overwrought? Sure, because people that look like him are not in the video. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the quiet part loud thing. We see what you're saying, Chris. The thing that speaks to me the most, and I think a lot of candidates will talk about this, it's like when we talk, especially when we talk about public safety, who's the public? He's interested in protecting certain people, and it's clear by the video to me. So said plenty to me about who he is, and that's not somebody I want leading my city. So
yeah, I like the Nest Cam element and the Band-Aid. I just found it to be a confusing concept.
Yeah, I did too. I was like,
Is the Nest Cam the problem? Do you want to stop the people from seeing what's outside? Do you want to fix the problem? Do you not want to use the Band-Aid? Because you're putting the Band-Aid on and then taking it off.
I already have so many opinions about people with Nest Cams surveilling their
I know,
own families.
right? It's
like
loaded.
That's weird
It's
to me.
Loaded.
So I didn't know what he was saying there.
Very confusing. Shall we move on? Sure. Are you ready, Elena?
Let's do it.
Number 2. She's raised $463,000. A longtime city councilwoman, Debbie Ortega. Let's see your ad.
My dad was a coal miner. He died on the job. So my mom raised us without him. Sent us to Denver Public Schools, same schools my kid and grandkids went to. On city council, I fought for the little guy, stood up to polluters and special interests, and passed Denver's first equal protection ordinance. As Denver's mayor, I'll make streets safe, make living here more affordable, keep fighting for Denver's working families like mine.
All right. Elena, you want to take that one first?
You know, Debbie's been in city office in various roles for 40 years. So she certainly has a lot of, you know, experience working with city government. And I think she's using that to her advantage here. I think she's also really trying to play up, you know, the family element, fighting for families, making Denver more affordable. I do think, you know, having that 40-year baggage, as some might call it, is it might turn some voters off when she's talking about making Denver more affordable, because a lot of people can look to her and say, you know, well, why now? Well, you know, where have you been over the last 40 years, putting us in this situation that we are now?
Yeah, if you have all these great ideas, where were they on council?
Yeah, I don't know. It certainly wasn't as produced and edited as a lot of the other ads that we'll see and have already kind of seen.
Some might say bland.
Yeah, definitely like a little bit more of an old school sort of take on what someone's looking for. The thing is, like, she's not super progressive, but that's not her thing. So I think she shows that, and I think you're right in that she's speaking to certain Denverites, I think, and it's like folks who have been here for a long time, who have struggled, folks who maybe are in law enforcement, just like, or also people that liked Hancock. And we have to remember, I think, Paul, you always remind me of this, like, he got reelected twice.
2 times.
So there are folks that really like what he's done. And I think, you know, we had Debbie on the show to talk about the National Western complex.
She was a champion of the arena proposal.
Which voters were not into. It failed.
I
But
can't wait to hear from her on that. We're talking to her tomorrow. I really want to hear what she learned from that experience. I'm curious
too, but I think it just speaks to, she's kind of like somebody who's been in the city for a long time, knows her and trusts her. So I don't know. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. It didn't stand out to me. But I also we watch politics so closely. We know Debbie.
Yeah.
We know Debbie's policies. So I'll be curious how that hits differently for different folks who, depending on how long you've been here.
Isn't this great? I love these. This is
Feels
like
like
the
watching,
most
like, TV.
helpful. Yeah, well, we're just hanging out watching TV. All right, number 3. The only Republican in the race, Andre Rougeau, I think is his birth name. Not sure why he's going by Andy.
Hey, respect it. Whatever he chooses.
I like that. Okay, I like that. He's raised $797,000, and this is his ad.
Deployed in Afghanistan, I laced up my army boots. As a small businessman, I wore them while growing a company. I'm Andre Rougeau, candidate for mayor. Now I'm wearing my army boots to remind me of the mission at hand, to make Denver safe and secure again. As mayor, I'll enforce the camping ban, add 400 new police officers, and get the homeless off the streets and the help they need. I'm Andre Rougeau. As mayor, I'll fight for Denver's future. That's my mission.
All right, Andre Rougeau. Bree, I want you to go first on Andy.
Well, small business owner, as he touts himself, feels like a stretch when you're the heir to like a multi-million-dollar business. His
Makeup
father,
brand.
It's a makeup empire. Sephora is not just a brand. It carries hundreds of brands. It's the place for makeup. I mean, they've taken over where department stores have disappeared the makeup department. That's Sephora now. They're everywhere. So at any rate, all I'm saying is small business is a stretch. I also would have qualms with his raised $797,000 because we know $500,000 of that came from a personal loan to himself. All that to say, I don't know how connected he is to the community, but what he is doing is speaking to a very specific set of voters, folks that don't like the fact that there's encampments and don't want to see it anymore. That's the message that I get from his
Tough.
Yep. The tough on crime interchangeably with homelessness, which is a problem we've seen throughout this race. These are not this mutually exclusive, but in short commercials like this, they can be portrayed that way.
Andy, I should say to people now, just to I don't know, stem the possibility of any disappointment in a couple of weeks when we don't have an interview with Andy. We are hoping to get one. We have been in touch with his campaign. I'm trying my best. I might go out and just show up at one of his events, try to talk to him. He has not been receptive to our invitations. So sorry, we might not be getting all 17.
But Andy,
we would love to hear from you, Andy, honestly.
Your campaign has sent 3 mailers to my house. You should just answer my email.
Yeah, please. We would really love to talk to you, get to know you better. Elena, is there anything you want to add on Andre Rougeau's ad?
No, I think you guys nailed it. The tough element is super prominent. I think this ad feels, when I first saw it, I thought, like, am I being signed up or to like work for the army?
Military,
yeah. And it comes across as an ad that would play a lot better like in a market like Colorado Springs. I think as the only Republican in the race, I find it interesting that he's playing to such a specific base, as you noted, Bree, instead of trying to appeal to more people. He came in super hot with this ad, with the helicopters in Afghanistan
on the ground.
Yeah, big shot of a big boot, and I'm not sure. He's already fighting an uphill battle as the only Republican in the race in a deep blue city. So I thought this ad was an interesting take where he's not changing his tactics here.
That's such a great.
Who he is.
It's such a great point, Elena, because you're right. This hyper-specific voting block. We talked to Dick Wadhams, a GOP strategist. It's smaller and smaller. It's not. So is he going to do? We know that Colorado independent voters dominate. Is he going to meet any of those folks where they are? I don't know. It's a tough call.
We'll see. Next up is Leslie Herod, a longtime state representative for Central and Northeast Denver. She has raised $878,000, almost $879,000, and this is her ad.
Denver, these last 3 years were rough, but I know how we get back. Get better than ever. I've done the work. Getting solar panels on buildings across the city, holding police accountable, and ensuring seniors get the dignified care that they deserve. Have the city build the homes we need to keep rents down. That gets people off the streets and into housing. We're deciding who we are this April 4th. Don't ever let any politician knock the hope out of you. Our city is there for the remaking. Denver is ready to choose.
I love the difference of music in everyone's.
I was just thinking that same thing. I
It's
was like,
such a strong
upbeat.
signature. I know that's definitely the first ad we've watched so far that like makes me want to dance. She really is. I know you guys have probably noticed her like partnering with Alanis Morissette. She was just like at South by Southwest talking with Nick Jonas on a panel. I mean, she's really trying to. And in this ad, you can tell she's down in Rhino. I think there's a lot of like street art, graffiti behind her. She's got people like walking on the streets with her. She's really, I think, trying to appeal to younger voters in this ad. I also thought it was interesting and unexpected that she led as far as, you know, things she's accomplished with solar panels. That wasn't something that I immediately associate with Leslie Herod. It's definitely more the police accountability thing, which of course is mentioned, but you know, solar panels, police accountability, and senior care.
Interesting.
It was interesting.
I totally agree with you. I was like, wait, what? But I mean, in terms of like the three things she chose to highlight, she's done so much. I think that's the thing. I think what she's trying to do is say, these are all of the arenas that I've worked in on a state level, and this is how I could tackle them. But it is a little bit of a confusing message to me. But I agree. I think the music was great. I have to say, this was my favorite ad from the perspective of the positivity. The end, I love the ending when she's like walking into the street and there's all these people behind her like, yes. And like that to me is like, that would be something that would get me excited, especially if I was a younger voter, I think. Also, we talk about representation in these commercials and how folks are shown, what light they're shown in. She does a great job of showing a diversity in age and cultural diversity of the types of folks that are in Denver. And I honestly appreciate that. You know, I don't know. I thought this was the best one, personally.
Interesting.
I like, again, the upbeatness made me excited to vote. The rest of them made me feel bummed.
I like the crowd. I think the crowd in this one is the strongest element, because that's something about Leslie that maybe is underreported, that she, I think, Elena, maybe you can correct me, but I think she has the most individual donors. I
think she's like the top of the Fair Elections Fund. I think she got the most. I'm pretty sure you're correct. Yeah.
She doesn't have the most money, but she has the most donors, which is like, that's a pretty good metric, I think, to judge popularity on. If you're appealing to a lot of people.
Well, and it's kind of this move in the last decade or so of, philanthropy at any level. Everybody can be involved. I think about, like Bernie Sanders, like anybody can donate. $5 is just as important, if not more, if we have 500 people donating $5 versus that corporation that don't, you know what I mean? Like that to me is what it says about Leslie's campaign. And also I would just say, as a person in the arts world, I see her out a lot. I see her with people. I see her in the community. So I think she walks the walk. I think what I see in that commercial feels like what I see in the world with Leslie.
There's so much more to talk about with each of these candidates, especially now that we're getting into the big money raisers. We are going to keep talking about all of these people, all of their policies, reputations, stories cropping up about them. But we got to keep going through the ads. We got two more. We are crossing what I am now calling the runoff line. Not that these are the two leading candidates, but they are the two leading fundraisers. But you know what? We got to take a quick break. So we're going to leave those two, the final candidates, above the runoff line for after this quick break. And we're back. Let's talk about our final two candidates and their TV ads. Mike Johnston is next. He was a subject of a lot of attention at the 9 News debate earlier this week. If anyone was the front runner, 9 News is saying it's probably him, although I think it's no one. He's raised $1.66 million so far. Let's see his ad.
Nobody in Denver should ever have to call this a home, or this a roof, or spend a Colorado winter sleeping out here. I'm Mike Johnston, and I'm running for mayor because we have a moral obligation to house everyone in Denver. That means building new housing right now with the mental health, addiction, and job training services that people need to rebuild their lives and get back on their feet. Because Denver's streets are for all of us, but they shouldn't be home for any of us.
What a great line.
The copy on this is perfection. Whoever wrote that knew how to write. I mean, we're talking about cohesiveness of what your message is. Mike nailed it here to me. He knows the biggest issue folks are talking about are homelessness as well as housing issues. And I think they weaved it together well. And I know as a voter, this is something he's literally going to work on the first day in office. And I got that from the commercial.
Yeah, I know he cares. And the music, soft.
But it's also at least positive.
Yeah, soft.
You know what I mean?
It's hopeful.
Yeah, it's hopeful. It's different than Leslie's that was just like had the motion, the
and
movement.
Empathetic, I found him.
Yeah, definitely.
Elena, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, it really speaks to how he's owned being the candidate that really cares about homelessness and has real solutions that he's offering. Whether, people agree with those solutions is another conversation. He got a lot of flack, as you mentioned, at the 9 News debate earlier this week for the tiny homes proposal. People saying that's just, that's not a long-term solution and isn't necessarily the right approach. But I think people have associated him now with like this platform that he has really owned, and I think that's really helpful for him as a candidate trying to stand out. I think he's actually achieved that.
Well, and it also, the commercial tells you what maybe you don't know about him, which is he worked in affordable housing. So he's a candidate that has the background knowledge to understand how the dollars work, how the land deals work. I mean, affordable housing just doesn't come out of nowhere. It's a very complex process on how it gets funded, where it gets put. And I took from that commercial that he knows. Yeah.
I was talking to a reporter friend about him, someone who covers the State House, and this person made the point, like, he's not really talking a lot about Prop 123. He's not taking credit for it a lot, but he was really one of the main drivers and backers of Prop 123 that got us all this new affordable housing money at the state level last year. So I don't know. Just another insight from somebody on the inside. One other point.
I was just going to say but I just want to say on that point, it's smart that he's not bringing up the proposition only because I think it would confuse voters on what we're voting on now. It's like those of us that follow this religiously know when that was. But the average voter is like, oh, okay, am I supposed to know about this? Is this, I see why it's not on the 30-second commercial.
I agree. One other point, I was talking to my wife, Megan, about this ad last night. We watched it together, and she knew something I didn't know. She pointed out, he's talking about mental health support and Union Station. On the Denverite questionnaire that was published earlier this week, he said he didn't support safe injection sites.
I think that is a tough place for candidates to be, even if they believe that serving folks with substance use issues is a direct correlation to our housing issue. I mean, I don't agree. I hope that he would embrace safe injection. I think it's the future. But I mean, think about, we did a sort of background interview with someone who works directly downtown, and she talked about, well, it's a great concept. I've been to Vancouver. I've looked at those, but I don't want Denver to be the first.
Interesting.
I hear where Megan's coming from, but I see from a strategic point of view how it's probably not what he's going to do.
Fascinating.
It scares people away.
Yeah. We got one more. Maybe you guessed who it is. She's the leading fundraiser. She's the former president of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, the former chief of staff for then Mayor John Hickenlooper. She's raised $1.71 million. It's Kelly Bruff.
One of my first jobs was at the city personnel department. An airport snowplow driver complained to me that I didn't know his job. And he was right. So I went and got a commercial driver's license and worked after hours plowing snow off the runways. It taught me about his job and mine. I'm Kelly Bruff, and as mayor, I'll always be open to learning. And I'll do the hard work to find solutions to our really tough challenges. Together, we can move forward.
The visuals are important. She's driving a snowplow through all of that. I've been calling that the snowplow ad. Who wants the first crack at the snowplow ad?
The music, I just have to go back to the music. I just love everyone's sense of music. This feels like a Home Depot ad to me. The sound. I think she did a good job. Well, number one, let me back up. Number one, I'm impressed that she can drive a snowplow. I didn't know that before watching this video, and I would be very curious to know if any other mayoral candidates can drive a snowplow like she can.
Same.
And I think that she did a good job in this ad appealing to blue collar workers, which I think is her goal here. And the Home Depot music adds to that effect. I think I love her focus on business, just as far as who she is as a career woman. And I think that, the fact that she emphasizes that she's always open to learning is something that is important to mention. But again,
people will like that.
Yeah, it does. Open-mindedness is not a bad thing, I would say, universally speaking. So
that feels like a Denver quality that no one else has really tapped.
I feel like she's leaning into the Denver thing pretty hard. I remember we saw her at the National Western at the stock show,
Mm-hmm.
kind of leaning into that part of her story.
Western wear. Mm-hmm. She looked great.
The music is Home Depot-ish, like the let's do this kind of thing, but I think it works. I think it's also, again, it's positive sounding. There's movement there. My issue with the commercial is I don't know what she's about. I didn't, it feels very vague. Like I'll think of solutions or I'll come up like, what are you going to tackle?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's great. I think it's awesome that you understand maybe how the city works from the inside when we talk about things like infrastructure and the basics of like, municipal trash and I don't know, snow plows.
Basics.
That's great. But I just I don't know what Kelly's about from this commercial from what she's going to do.
That is an interesting take. I don't think you're wrong about that. On the other hand, after watching all these, I think I'm ready to predict that Kelly's going to make the runoff. I think that this ad is phenomenal. This is vintage Hickenlooper.
Oh, for sure.
This
That
is
was the
bread
other
and
thing.
butter. She learned from her old boss.
The music.
She knows the tricks. Be relatable. Be a regular person. You know?
Relatable, be a regular person, but also like do something a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit unexpected,
a little quirky, a little weird.
Yeah,
it's not funny. It's not going to make you laugh.
It's
but
not
it's
like his meter, his paying the meters.
Yeah, which is something disappointing about all these ads. None of them were funny, but I think Kelly has really got the right idea here. My prediction: she's in the runoff.
I would
Heard it here first.
I would see from the commercial standpoint that I think Leslie's going to be there.
Okay.
She appeals most to the most voters to me.
Elena, any final thoughts on the whole batch? That's all of them.
This was really fun.
I
wish we could do it again. It was good.
Well, if any of the other candidates put out ads, maybe we'll have you back to weigh in. There's Lisa Calderon. She's a big fundraiser. No TV ads from what I could find.
And she was one of the top vote getters in that 9 News poll of who folks wanted to see. I would love to see a commercial from Lisa. I'd love to see a commercial from Terrence. I'd love to see a commercial from Ian. I'd love to see a commercial from Jim Walsh.
All of them.
Yeah,
every single one.
Something that shows us a little bit more about who you are.
I would guess, I could be wrong, but as we get closer to actual election day on April 4th, you'll see, because again, they're so expensive to put out there, that we'll see some of those, candidates with lower fundraising.
Just doing that last push.
Final push when it really matters and people are actually paying attention.
Well, we can only hope.
Yeah.
Elena, we'll check in with you when that happens, when a new ad drops.
Please do.
That's our supersized segment for the week, but we got one more thing. It's Friday. You know how the show ends. Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
What's up, weather fam? Rain or shine, I'm Andy Stein here with your CityCast Denver weather. Hey, after a pretty roller coaster of a week, we went from the 50s to the 60s to near 70, and then to snow on Thursday. We're going to be rewarded pretty nicely as we head into the weekend with sunny conditions. Temperatures are going to be held a little bit below normal, though. We are talking about highs on Saturday in the low to mid 40s, highs on Sunday in the low to mid 50s. It should be a beautiful weekend with lots of sunshine, not even talking about too much wind. But, as always, it is March in Colorado, where you have to look out a little bit further, and we are looking towards the middle of next week for a potential storm to move through the Front Range in the I-25 corridor. Details to be worked out on that, but it's basically going to be guaranteeing some mountain snow, which is great because they've had a pretty good snowpack year this year. Hey, catch y'all on socials. Just search for Rain or Shine. I'm Andy Stein, and enjoy your weekend. It's going to be a gorgeous one.
And we're back. It's time for the official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend, as in maybe you'll see us there, because as usual, there are so many cool things happening in Denver this weekend, and we have opinions. Adrian Gonzalez rounds up his best bets in our newsletter, Hey Denver, every week, and he's here to give us his top picks. Adrian, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy St. Patty's.
Hey.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that.
I totally forgot.
It's confusing because Denver holds their parade 1 week ahead, so it messes with your mind.
Yeah, you're right, because we talked about it last week. Okay, well,
today's the day to go and get plaster drunk downtown and make a fool of yourself. But that's not what we're doing this weekend. First event I've got for you, the Bugs are ready.
Oh,
hell
Lord.
Yes. I know. Go on.
Oh, man, this is a fun one. Chef Jose Avila at La Diabla is hosting the first ever bug festival. Apologies to my Puerto Rican friends. It's called Festival de Bichos, which in Puerto Rican Spanish means something completely different. But that one they kicked off yesterday. It goes through, they changed the dates a little bit a couple times, but I believe it goes for a good week or so. So essentially what it is there are over 500 different bugs in Mexico that are edible, and Jose Avila and La Diabla is bringing them out for you to try them out for a week and a half. So you can have tacos with ants in it. You can have tostadas with, you get the point.
Yeah.
Bugs on food.
What
do we think?
I think this is so cool.
I do too.
Okay, Elena, you're a food person. I know you recommend food stuff in Axios Denver a lot. What do you think?
Number one, if you've never had a good cricket taco, they're awesome. I can't look at them directly when I eat it, but the taste is amazing. Two, it's really sustainable. Eating bugs is really sustainable. So I've been actually looking to find more restaurants that do this. It's been hard. It's really only like Mexican restaurants that do the crickets and things like that. I love this. I think it's really fun, and I hope we see it again next year.
Bree?
No.
No chance?
Nope. No. Paul, as you know, I've recently had to go mostly vegetarian in my life. I am not. I have adjusted to tofu. I will not. But I mean, Adrian, like the headline in the Denver Post: scorpion tamales. Okay, larvae tacos. Gross.
Yeah.
Worm tostadas.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You're ruining perfectly good food. I want a tamale that's work.
No, I get it. I think it's something you had to have grown up with the taste, or if you're really adventurous and want to try some things. But this is something that, like Elena mentioned, is just sustainable and something that in Mexico has been done traditionally for millennia. Because it is sustainable.
Yes, and this is where my lack of adventure is showing very much, but I am not an adventurous person.
I grew up eating like chapulines, the grasshoppers, and when I was a kid, we go to the center of the city in Juarez, and you get a little bag of them. It's got lime and chile. It's delicious. But the larva, I did try the chapulines, the taco, I think about a month ago here. Delicious.
You're
right. You
Jose
can't make
Avila?
eye contact. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I think they started to roll out some of them, and they were kind of giving it a trial. The worms, I don't know if I could do it. Scorpion. I'm going to try it.
The bugs, it's challenging my sort of vegetarian, the space that I'm in with meat. Like, what do I do with that? 'Cause it's so sustainable, but like, I don't know.
Elena, Paul has been eating pork.
Listeners
I'm
don't
not
care
trying to
about
call
this.
you out.
Listeners
I'm
don't
just
care
saying
about
if
this.
you're
They don't wanna hear
eating
about this.
pork, I think you could eat a cricket.
We'll talk about that someday. But I gotta say, I went to Linger, the restaurant at the old mortuary. They used to do this. They had chapulines. I went there with some anthropologists for a podcast a few years ago. That's quite a perspective. Because it's just what they said is there was a person who did a whole project on this, like why are bugs icky, and it's this combination of the
bugs.
Learned experience, like us growing up here in Denver, where I came from, Ohio. Everyone always would say, eating bugs gross, but and then it's also like history and colonialism, like when white people came to America and decided what's good and like took over.
It's true.
So it's just history and
I have a real.
It's so interesting. I can't wait to try it. What else we got though, Adrian? We got more events.
Yes, we got more. The second one is if you guys are fans of alpacas, this is the show for you. We have the 2023 Matsuri AOA National Alpaca Show. There are 600 alpacas showing up to the National Western Stock Show, or not Stock Show.
600.
I missed the stock show. Excuse me. There were 600 alpacas showing up to the National Western Complex, and they will all be judged on something called conformation, which I assume is listening to commands, and fleece qualities.
Like their
fur.
Cute.
That sounds super fun.
There's also alpaca yoga there and an alpaca selfie booth or whatever. I'm going
for the selfie booth.
Right.
That does sound fun.
Can you have alpacas in the city?
I don't know.
Is it like an adoption thing where you can?
That would be a good
question.
I think by municipality it may.
But anyway, that one is happening today through Sunday.
Okay, fascinating. What else we got,
alpacas. Adrian? The next one I included because my partner was in New Orleans this weekend and I didn't get to go. But it is a crawfish blues and brews. So you get to reserve a table at this place. Let me check. This is at Rockabilly's in Arvada.
Okay.
An organization called the Bio Boys, which puts together Creole kind of food events and live music. You can get 3 pounds worth of crawfish with potatoes, corn, sausage. Yeah. And then you can reserve a table. You can order more.
Some people would argue crawfish are bugs of the
I was
sea.
just about to say.
Exactly. It's
They
learned
look
behavior.
buggy.
I guess those are
Yeah.
bugs I will eat because this sounds great.
There you go.
Elena, how about you?
I'm going bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, crawfish
Okay.
are great, but I've been there, done it.
We're gonna have to convince Bree at the end. Well,
Right.
I'm planning for that. What
So
else we
Elena's,
got?
Elena's doing land bugs. You're doing sea bugs.
Yep.
Okay. All right. The last event I've got is called Ballots and Brunch.
Huh.
This is fun. We were just talking about
Yeah.
the election coming up. There's a lot of information flying around. There's 100,000 people. The ads are fantastic.
Uh-huh.
But Upper Larimer, the event space in Rhino, is hosting a free brunch. So if you show up with your ballot or your I voted sticker, you get in for free. They'll provide food and drinks, and then you can chat with neighbors and friends about what the issues that matter to you and how to
I
vote.
love this idea. I just have to say, I feel like people are so overwhelmed that it's really helpful to be able to just talk to other people. Like, what are you thinking? Do you understand this initiative better than I do? How should, I mean, I know we're going to be talking a lot about the initiative 20, about the ballot measure.
2-0, the Park Hill one.
The Park Hill one. There's also these two around zoning, which could be
Very complicated.
but also huge for our city. So I don't know. I love this one. Free brunch too. That's pretty
That
sweet.
is a great promotion. That's like
It's
a donation
really
to
smart.
civic engagement in the
Yeah.
city from that
I respect that.
organization. That's cool.
Respect and
Cool move.
appreciate
It is a
that.
super smart move. We were thinking of doing something like that at Axios Denver before the ballots hit. Just like have, invite people over to fill out their ballot, like have some beers with us so we can just answer questions. I mean, again, us talking about low turnout, how low it's been and how low it is right now. I love this idea. Props to them.
Personally, I am going to wait to fill out my ballot because I think this race is not over yet.
Well,
I think
and
there's
do-
more information coming out about these people. I'm not ready to make a decision.
And we have Councilwoman Amanda Sandoval slated to come chat with us about those ballot issues
Yes.
around zoning. And we know her. She's a zoning freak. She loves zoning. So I am with you, Paul. I'm waiting to hear from our source directly. So yeah, that might be a little too early. But for folks that are I know a lot of people too get their ballot and just want to get it over with. Perfect thing to do it. Perfect place to do it. But I have a feeling that is not what Elena and Paul.
Well, let me make a pitch for La Diablo's Bug Festival for you, Bree. They have other things on the menu.
I know we had their tacos, and respect to Chef. I didn't like them. I know.
I think you have to go and get them
Elena's
there.
looks
I know.
heartbroken.
Adrian and
I feel the
I
same
know.
way.
Adrian and I talked about this though. The transport issue
Yes.
with tacos is tough. You got to
Yeah.
do it in the moment.
There's a reason
and
it's
have
street
it.
food. Like, you can't transport
Exactly.
street food,
I
which,
think I
we
need
did
to
it-
go there on one of the nights when they have
Yes.
the outdoor situation and try it. So no disrespect,
Hey,
but
maybe this weekend.
You could, yeah.
I'm certainly okay. Fine, I'll go there with you, but I will not eat a
All
bug.
right. Okay.
We'll buy you a margarita.
I don't drink.
Oh God. Okay, we'll buy you a virgin margarita
Sure.
to wash it down.
I do
with.
like a good
There we
sweet. If they
go.
have a good sweet and sour mix,
Yes.
I'm into it. I'm into it. All right, you guys win. I'll just let you have this one because
Nice. Good
Elena
work, Paul. Good
our
work.
guest is into it. I respect it. Okay, go ahead.
Very nice of you.
It is very
to,
nice.
to
Thanks,
say
Bree.
that here.
And
in a few
again, we
minutes,
are-
we'll talk again, I'm sure.
We're fans of La Diabla. I don't want my taste in tacos to affect
Yeah.
our championing of this cool place.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. And there you have it, the official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend. But there's way more where that came from. Adrian's got plenty more recommendations in our newsletter, Hey Denver, which you can subscribe to right now by texting Denver to 66866. Adrian, Bree, Elena of Axios Denver, another great newsletter. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much. It's so much fun.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Happy bug eating.
Boy. Hello.
That's all for the week here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Caroli, Aaron O'Toole, and JD Lopez. Adrian Gonzalez writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Twitter at CityCast Denver, and tell Tony Lopez we said hi. We met your aunt today. She's very cool. She said you might be listening. Hi, Tony. Sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866 and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week. This isn't his ad yet. This is the ad before the ad.
This is a trash can.